Do you bum 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 ba-da-dum, it's time. Uh I'm tweeting. I'm trying to like tweet this out while I do this opening salvo here. Um I'm live talking about Doctor Who. Join me for this autopsy. For the first time since 1988, I want to say, the future of Doctor Who is unclear. Though I and many others are hoping that we never see it again, or at least that we don't see it for a very long time. This, I mean, it's so bad I changed all my plans. So, I promised last week on my debut episode of the media's live show that this week I would talk about like how anime was always popular, and there's other things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Elden Ring Night Rain, even though I haven't had the chance to play it yet. I want to talk about like the first impressions on those. I wanted to talk. I really want to talk about Zom 100 because that's like my new thing that I'm just like really super into right now. I've also been rereading The Man Who Laughs by Ed Brubaker, Batman graphic novel, recreating the very first Joker story. And there's a couple other things that I really wanted to talk about this week. A couple things have happened over the past 7 days. Um, but all that changed the second I saw the clips of how Doctor Who Disney era season 2 ended. And I knew I had to do something about Doctor Who. The only time I think I've talked about the show once in the past. I'm looking that up now. Doctor. Yeah, 4 years ago, during my Summer of Love series, day 22 of my 100 videos in a 100-day series that I did in summer of I think that was 2020. I did an episode called "I Love Doctor Who" because I did. Uh, Once upon a time, Doctor Who was my favorite show of all time. I liked it more than Netflix's Daredevil. I liked it more than Star Trek. I liked it more than Cheers. I liked it more than Avatar. I liked it more than Batman the Animated Series. I liked it more than Full Metal Alchemist. I liked it more than Cowboy Bebop. I liked it more than anything else I had ever seen on TV. And then I stopped loving it. The opposite of love is not hatred. The opposite of love is not hatred, it's indifference. I became disinterested in Doctor Who. I became involved in Doctor Who. I stopped caring about Doctor Who. And that's the real tragedy of this. The fact that, like, all this fan pandering, all this stunt casting, all these stupid plot twists, all this woke meandering, all this stuff did not make me care about the Kunigatwa's era of Doctor Who. It did not make me care more about David Tennant's second swing at the character. It did not make me care anymore about Jodie Whittaker's boring freaking era. And why is that? Because on paper, Doctor Who should be the perfect genre fiction show. It's time and relative dimension in space. You got parallel universes, you got time travel, you got alien sci-fi, you have little bits of fantasy mixed in, you have historical fantasy, you have just plain history, which is, again, kind of a staple of time travel shows. But you have all that, and you have this heart, this glue that makes it all just work. And that specialness died, but it didn't die overnight. As the title of the video suggests, this was a slow, agonizing death. This video is going to be similar in spirit to my videos about My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, other big. I think those are actually the only ones I've done like that. But this is not a celebration like it was with My Hero Academia. This is not a decade of triumphs. This is not a rant like it was with Demon Slayer, where I was just like, Demon Slayer is bad. And this is not me trying to just mull over all my thoughts in order to figure out how I really feel about something, the way it was with Attack on Titan. This is an autopsy. Doctor Who, for all intents and purposes, is dead. It has not been renewed for another season. It's unclear whether the 16th Doctor that was revealed is actually going to be the 16th Doctor, or if they're going to retcon some other nonsense Bad Wolf stuff into it. And I want to try to, like, go all the way back to figure out why. And as I usually do, I actually start with my first experiences with the show. The first Doctor Who episode I ever saw, I think it was called Voyage of the Damned. It was a David Tennant episode. It was one of the Christmas specials. I think it was his second Christmas special, so it was the third Christmas special of New Who. Very fun episode. Very enjoyable. Very funny with how, like, we called it the Titanic because the Titanic is the most famous ship in Earth's history. And the Doctor's like, do you know why it was famous? And they don't, because they don't care. They didn't dig that deep into the history of Earth. And that's how I actually feel about the last couple seasons of Doctor Who. They have all these references and all these, like, lip service moments to, like, classic Doctor Who stuff, like the Ronnie, Omega, the Toy Maker, which was the last David Tennant special. But it doesn't mean anything. They're not doing anything fun or creative with it. They're not pushing these ideas forward. Which, that was what New Who was all about. New Who was all about taking these old, antiquated ideas from the 60s, 70s, and 80s and giving them this fresh 21st century coat of paint. So Voyage of the Dam was my first episode, and I liked it. And this was, I watched it actually around the same time that Season 6 was coming out. I distinctly remember the Season 6 episode, Let's Kill Hitler, was the first episode I watched as a new episode. In between there, BBC would have, like, Doctor Who marathons every week where they would play, like, a couple episodes. And I think Netflix had it at the time. And that's how I was able to go back and start, at least with New Who and a couple of the classic specials, like the Three Doctors, which was the introduction of Omega. And it was also the first Doctor Who crossover. It was William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and most notably John Pertwee. He was the main Doctor of that special because he was the new one. He was the newest Doctor at that time. And I fell in love with it from probably the second episode. The one where the Doctor and Rose go however many billion years into the future and watch the end of the world as popcorn theater. I thought that was such a crazy neat idea. And that's kind of what Doctor Who became for me, was this crazy maddening thing where all the stuff was so important, but at the same time, nothing was permanent. Everything was in flux. There were set points in time. There were fixed points, fixed points, but everything in between there was up for grabs. And what made the Doctor so special is that by Time Lord standards, he's not special. The only reason why he's the main character of the show is because he's the Time Lord that happens to bum around on Earth. And we're from Earth, and so the companions are like our surrogate characters. And the Doctor is the only one of his species that really cares about our planet, and that's why we follow him. Uh, but that wasn't always the case. Before I get into the history, just to kind of wrap up my experience with this, uh, I caught up with Doctor Who, about halfway through season 6. Uh, Watched the rest of season 6, loved it. I thought the ending kind of fell flat a little bit. I know a lot of people actually don't like the Wedding River song as an episode or as a finale, and yeah, lot of spinning plates in that episode. A lot of spinning plates in that season, really. Uh, and even more so with season 7. But I think season 7 did a little bit better job sticking the landing on what all it was trying to do. Uh, and then season 8 came around. Peter Capaldi took over, and I actually really liked him. But I felt like his plot lines were bad. I feel like Peter Capaldi was one of the best actors to play the Doctor. I think his take on the Doctor is one of the best. It comes from this place of like genuine love. Like you can tell that he is someone who has been a fan since day one. Like with all the new Who actors, they try to like embody someone. Like Christopher Eccleston was really trying to embody Colin Baker of all people. Colin Baker actually went on record be like Christopher Eccleston was more like what he wanted the Doctor to be in his era, but wasn't really allowed to do. David Tennant, straight up Peter Davidson. And then Matt Smith, he was a lot more like Tom Baker, a lot more zany and wacky. Uh, Peter Capaldi was straight up William Hartnell, with a little bit of like John Pertwee. He definitely wanted to bring the Doctor back to like square one, like we're starting fresh. This is a new regeneration cycle. He's a cranky old man again, with the spunky young sidekick, who means a lot to him and knows his entire history. Like that is going back to the dynamic of like William Hartnell and his companions. Uh, then Jodie Whittaker, I've heard a lot of people compare her to Paul McGann for the Eighth Doctor, with all the like Quincy and but I just find her take on the Doctor boring. The only thing interesting about her is that it is a her. That's all she ever had going for her. Um, Especially with the abysmal writing. Like I don't think Jodie Whittaker is a bad actress. I think she's fine in everything she's been in. But the writing was not doing her any favors. And then Nakuni Gatwa is somehow worse. Just obnoxious. Like he tries to be like, I think he's trying to be a bit like Matt Smith, but he's not fun, and he's not endearing, and he doesn't have these moments of like genuine pathos that Matt Smith did as the Doctor. He's just in your face all the time. But now let's go back to like what it was like before I got involved. Because believe it or not, a lot of what we think of with Doctor Who, we kind of take for granted. That wasn't what the show always was. Back in the day, back in William Hartnell's era, it was just a time travel show with some space aliens, and the Doctor was this mysterious old man with a time machine. He wasn't even revealed to be an alien until 3 seasons deep. The season 3 finale is what revealed that, like, oh, I'm actually an alien from a race of Time Lords. I don't think Gallifrey was ever mentioned until like season like 5 or 6. It was during the Patrick Troughton era that was first mentioned, and then it was Patrick Troughton's final episode, his finale, the season 6 finale, that revealed that like there's a Council of Gallifrey and that the Doctor, and this is another thing that makes him so special, isn't special by their standards. But as far as the Council of Gallifrey were concerned, the Doctor was this bratty teenager. Like, he wasn't this wise old man by their standards. He was just this punk, rebellious kid who just looked like an old human. Like, that's hilarious. That's the kind of thing that like I really like that. I always like that about Dragon Ball with its like various deities and how like the more powerful someone gets, the more immature they come off. Like Zeno, the master of the multiverse, who can snap universes away with a whim, and he's like got the mentality of a toddler. And then beneath him, you got the gods of destruction, the next like level down, and all the gods of destruction are like little kids, like they act like 8 or 9 year olds. I love that. Freerin does it as well. Freerin with Freerin and Sere, where they're like thousands of years old, but they act like teenagers a lot of the time. Uh, then yeah, Patrick Troughton added a lot of that stuff. John Pertwee really added a lot of the Gallifrey stuff because little bit of Doctor Who history lesson. The season 6 finale, the Doctor does something to piss off the Council of Gallifrey, and as punishment, they force him to regenerate, banish him to Earth, and like lock up his TARDIS up. Like he's still able to use it. He's still able to like transport certain distances or go to certain points in time, but he's stranded on like modern day Earth or modern day Britain for the entirety of John Pertwee's run. And that was a budget saving decision by the BBC, so that they could use the same 3 sets for every episode. Uh, but John Pertwee was also he was the first one to fight the Master, this evil, insane Time Lord who had become like the Doctor's real arch nemesis. Like his real arch nemesis is the Daleks, but the Daleks are this faceless ensemble of like just mechanical fascists. Uh, they don't have any like distinct personalities individually, except like maybe Dalek Khan, the cult of Skaro from New Who. Dalek Second, Dalek Khan kind of had like interesting personalities, and the individual Dalek from the series one with Christopher Eccleston, the episode titled Dalek, he was interesting too, but more because of the circumstances of that show's plot. Um, but yeah, the Master, he's someone who can actually like compete with the Doctor in every sense of the word as an individual, uh, not just as an army or as a force to be a force of nature. Uh, John Pertwee's era ended. You had Tom Baker. He made it a lot more campy, a lot more fun, and Tom Baker was kind of the first to see success overseas. Peter Davidson was an attempt to appeal to a younger audience and a more female audience. He was the youngest Doctor to that point and remained the youngest Doctor until I think Matt Smith. I think it was either Matt Smith or David Tennant. Uh, I don't think David Tennant was younger than Peter Davidson was, but Matt Smith definitely was. And now it's Nakudi Gatwa is the youngest person to ever play the Doctor. It goes like Nakudi Gatwa, Matt Smith, then either Peter Davidson or David Tennant. And then I think like Jodie Whittaker, um, Christopher Eccleston's down there as well. I think William Hartnell's the oldest. He's the first and also the oldest. Uh, but after Tom Baker left, the show started kind of going downhill. The Colin Baker or Peter Davidson era was fine. The Colin Baker era was rife with production problems and behind the scenes drama. And the show was kind of like on its death nails by then. And Sylvester McCoy was, an attempt to try to like appeal to the masses, appeal to like this anti Margaret Thatcher sentiment that was going on in the UK at the time, or Britain at the time. I don't know if they were called the UK yet. Uh, and it didn't work, and his era ended up kind of getting cut short too. And then Doctor Who was gone for a while. There was the TV movie in the '90s with Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, rather. And then that movie kind of came and went, and Doctor Who was gone for another 9 years. And then New Who came in, fresh coat of paint, new writers, new graphics, new Doctor with Christopher Eccleston playing Darker Edge, and playing into like the mystery again, because the Doctor was so mysterious in those first 9 seasons in the classic era, and New Who tried to like recreate that with Christopher Eccleston having a whole brand new status quo right out the gate. No Daleks, no Time Lords. The Time War happened off screen in between the TV movie and the launch of New Who, and things were different, and the Doctor was darker, sadder, depressed, even. Christopher Eccleston was only allowed to get one season because he did not like RTD. He did not like T. Davies, who was the showrunner at that time and was again until now. And so he was swapped out for David Tennant. And David Tennant kind of brought it to new heights, made it a mega success around the world. To this day, David Tennant is not my favorite Doctor, but I think he's the best actor to play the Doctor. And it kind of shows with the plot lines that they were willing to give him. Like, I can't see Matt Smith as the Doctor becoming human. Which was a big like 2-part special or a 2-part episode in season 3 of New Who. It was the Martha Jones era. Like, I can't see Matt Smith pulling that off, even though he's a good actor. He's fine. I've seen clips of House of the Dragon. He's good in that. But David Tennant is just a phenomenal actor all around. Or at least he was before he lost his mind and started suffering from woke hysteria-ism. Matt Smith's era was defined by like having an overarching plot, and it was supposed to be like brand new stuff. He was, he didn't have any of the companions carry over from David Tennant or Christopher Eccleston. He didn't have any of the network of allies. No unit, no Torchwood. He never fought the Master. He very rarely fought the Daleks or the Cybermen. I don't think he even had like the Cybermen appear in a lot of Matt Smith episodes, but they only ever appear as like part of an entourage. I'm trying to think if there were any like real big Cyberman centric episodes with the Matt Smith era. I know he never fought the Master. And there were a couple Dalek episodes. There was I love all the Dalek episodes from the first 5 seasons, but it's something about Matt Smith's first run in with the Daleks, because it's post Reality War, post Davros' death again. The Daleks show up in World War II fighting for the British. Like, we are your soldiers. We are your allies. And the Doctor's just loose. They were gaslighting the Doctor so hard. I love it. Then I think season 6 was the first season to not have a Dalek-centric episode. They just very briefly made cameos once or twice in that season. Then season 7 had a Asylum of the Daleks. And I think that's actually where Doctor Who started to kind of fall off for me. Was halfway through season 7 with the return of the Weeping Angels and the reveal that the Statue of Liberty is actually just a giant sleeping angel, which is so silly. But not having Amy and Rory there for the entire era never sat right with me. And Clara never sat right with me as a companion. I do like her. I like her more during the Peter Capaldi run than I did in that half of season 7 she was in. She kind of just came on as like a latecomer, hijacking the story with her shenanigans, and then she ends up like jumping to the heart of the TARDIS or whatever, and sees the Doctor's entire life stream or whatever. Like I just felt that was very forced, very contrived, and very like been there, done that as well, because Rose did something similar, uh, with the Bad Wolf stuff. Uh, yeah, Clara never really sat right with me as a companion for the 11th Doctor, and it made his finale feel underwhelming. Uh, and that underwhelmingness kind of defined Peter Capaldi's there. Peter Capaldi had some great episodes in his run. I love most of the stuff with the Cybermen in his run. Peter Capaldi is second only to Patrick Troughton in the amount of stuff he does with the Cybermen. I liked seeing a female master. I liked having the Time Lords back for a bit. I liked I really liked the episode with the mummy, where they're like stuck on the train, and the doctor's like trying to figure it out, but he like needs people to die. Like I love it when the doctor doesn't know, because that's another thing. That's another part of like what makes him special. He's what makes him special is that he's not a smarter Time Lord would have been able to figure it out faster. A smarter Time Lord would have been able to save more people, but he's not the smartest Time Lord. He's not the most powerful Time Lord. He's definitely not the oldest Time Lord. He's just the one who happens to bum around on Earth and just happens to be the one that pressed the button at the end of the Time War. Coop asked, did you ever watch Torchwood or did you just skip it? I watched the first couple episodes and then dropped it. I did watch the first few episodes of Torchwood and just didn't get into it. Same thing with the Sarah Jane Smith Chronicles. I do like Sarah Jane Smith as a character, but on her own, she just doesn't really work. She needs she really needs not just any doctor. She really needs Tom Baker's doctor to really work for me. Uh, like I do think that the episode she was in with the David Tennant doctor, with Tenth Doctor, I do think that was a really fun episode, and it's really good just to occasionally bring old companions back and have them meet the new companion and be like, this is what your future looks like. The Doctor will always eventually move on, but again, similar to Free Reign and Serie, like it's not really about him moving on. It's about like he remembers all of them, which is another reason why the cutting out one situation is bullshit. Because I'm not even gonna get into like the spoilers on that. But let's just say that very similar to Lilo and Stitch, Ohana apparently means just fucking off and not caring. Uh, but yeah, Peter Capaldi is what really kind of lost me and where I became disinterested. It wasn't his fault at all. At all. I still think he's a great doctor. I think he was robbed of good writing. I think he deserved better than what he got. And then that carried over into the Jodie Whittaker era, 13th Doctor, who I think was just boring. And the show tanked, and everyone started disliking it, and it looked like it was gonna. Uh, uh, Coop said, you might as well spoil it, man. Ain't nobody gonna watch it now. True. I do not encourage anybody to watch the Nakati Gatwa stuff. Uh, but yeah, basically, there's this whole thing with like this character. God, I keep wanting to call her Rose. It's Ruby, where she just gets shafted hard, and then gets like kind of gets like mind wiped or whatever. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. I stopped paying attention. I stopped paying attention. So I can't even really explain like what the heck was even going on with that. I just know that they made Omega into a big dumb CGI monster, and uh, they spent the whole season building up the Ronnie, only to have her die in like 3 seconds. Uh, at least the toy maker got a whole special to himself. Uh, but yeah, then he had I do have to bring up one. I hesitate to use the word interesting point in the Jodie Whittaker run. But it was the breaking point for me. It was when I went from being like just not even really paying attention to Doctor Who anymore, just watching it out of obligation, to just actively hating it and wishing for it to die. Because I keep saying, what made the Doctor special is that he doesn't know everything. What makes the Doctor special is that he isn't all that distant from us. And then the fugitive Doctor showed up and retconned everything. The Doctor isn't just special, the Doctor is the most special. He is a child, he is Time Lord Jesus. He is the source of all regenerative energy. He is the timeless child who was experimented on by the original Council of Gallifrey and allowed them to unlock their time travel devices and solve all these issues and start the whole regeneration cycle within themselves. And I hate that so much. It is the worst plot thread I've seen in any medium. Like I made this comparison on Twitter, uh, when the fugitive Doctor showed up recently in one of the more recent episodes, where like they need to stop making the fugitive Doctor a thing. They need to make it like it never happened. They need to retcon it where like, oh, that wasn't actually the original Doctor. That was actually a Doctor from the far off future who like time traveled back to the beginning of the live stream or whatever. It's a big loop. Uh, they need to retcon something big with her because she killed the show. I don't even care to remember the actress's name. She sucks anyway. Uh, but imagine if. See, I can't even think of something that stupid because the first things that came to mind, like, oh, what if Batman had superpowers? That's fun for a book, for a single storyline. What if Superman lost his powers? That's a tried and true Superman thing. What if Peter Parker was rich? That's a fine storyline to do temporarily. The thing about the worst things in comic books, which the worst things in comic books do have the worst writing ever. Uh, but the thing about that is that it's not permanent. Like, Batman getting powers is a temporary thing. Peter Parker being rich is a temporary thing. Captain America losing his super soldier serum is a temporary thing. The fugitive Doctor is a noose tied around the neck of the show that can never be removed. She retroactively makes every single Doctor worse. From William Hartnell all the way through Jodie Whittaker and unto the future with Nakuni Gatwa and, spoiler alert, Billy Piper. I'll get into that later. Uh, but every single good thing about Doctor Who is now retroactively worse because of her existence. And it's not something they can just hand wave away. It's not something they can just ignore. It's luggage. It's the AIDS of this series. It's this poison that will continue to linger for as long as this show exists. You can't fix the fugitive Doctor. You can't just undo how she fundamentally breaks everything good about Doctor Who. or everything interesting about Doctor Who, at least. You can still go back and pretend she doesn't exist and enjoy those older episodes. Uh, and take it as the retcon that it is. Uh, but then you get the 14th Doctor, which was the return of Russell Davies, RTD, and the return of David Tennant, and they bring back Donna Noble, and they have the stupidest line in Doctor Who history, which is the like, well, it's something as a male, it's something that you as a male presenting Time Lord would never understand, and that's that women can let things go. Like bullshit. Whoever wrote that has never talked to a woman in his life. Like not to go on like a misogynistic twist here, but like women hold grudges, statistically speaking, a lot more than men do. Men will beat the shit out of each other one minute and be out partying and drinking together the next. It's literally in the oldest story that exists, the Epic of Gilgamesh. A big part of the Epic of Gilgamesh is Gilgamesh and Enkidu beating the snot out of each other for like weeks on end and then becoming best friends because of it. Name me one pair of women that can say the same. When women friendships fall apart, they genuinely fall apart and they tend not to be fixed. Statistically. Again, there's always going to be exceptions out there. Not all women, not all men. Dark Cyber asked favorite Doctor. That's actually a really good question because I go back and forth on whether I like John Pertwee or Matt Smith more. Uh, I almost kind of got it. I think John Pertwee is actually a safe pick. He is like such an interesting take on the Doctor. He's the Dandy Doctor. He's the Doctor who had an actual wardrobe and not just a costume. Uh, Tom Baker's a lot of fun. Obviously, he brought the show to new heights, creatively speaking. David Tennant, I think, has the best run of episodes out of any of the Doctors. He has the fewest amount of bad episodes to his name. Matt Smith is my favorite. I like the wacky cartoon. Uh, Amy Pond's pseudo imaginary friend angle. I always like that about his Doctor. Um, but yeah, so those would be my three favorites: John Pertwee, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and then in like fourth place would be Tom Baker, and then from there, Pete Davidson would be up there. Patrick Troughton, William Hartnell, I kind of put in the same tier. I put William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, and Peter Capaldi kind of in the same lump. uh, but yeah, the whole bringing David Tennant back thing was dumb and it was stunt casting. It was member berry bullshit, which I'm sick of. Uh, I like Sylvester McCoy. That's because nobody else is. Sylvester McCoy is a badass. He did bring some swagger to that role. The cool guy walking away from explosion meme. He like the cool guys walking away from explosions thing. That was, I'm pretty sure Doctor Who was one of the first things to actually do that, and it was during Sylvester McCoy's era. Because that was what would have been like 1986, 1987. Uh, so it would have been, pre Terminator 2 at least. Uh, but yeah, the male presenting Time Lord. Another reason why that didn't work. Was the fact that the Doctor was literally a woman like 24 hours earlier. He's fresh off that regeneration, and then he gets like woman splained by a troon. Yeah, yeah, that's a thing. Rose Noble is trans or whatever. That got revealed, and they made a big deal about it, and it was stupid. Almost as stupid as any given Nakunigatwa plot line. Like when he goes to Lagos, like, I can finally feel safe here as a black man. Like, isn't it illegal to be gay in Lagos? I don't think Nakunigatwa would be all that safe. Uh, someone just tagged me in a Doctor Who related post. He had already written season 3 with Nakuni in mind, as he expected him to be staying, but Nakuni didn't want to wait around for a decision from Disney. Probably saw the declining viewership, so he decided to leave early, hence the reshoots. Yeah, I can see that. Nakuni Gatwa does seem very sensitive to that sort of thing. Uh, the virgin Nakuni Gatwa letting the fans run him out versus the Chad Colin Baker clinging to it until he is forced out of the studio. No, Colin Baker did not do that. Colin Baker was not that based. Coop, you would actually really like Colin Baker's Doctor. I feel like. Uh, going for about 40 minutes. Not as long as I thought it would. So, after Chris Chibnall was ousted from the BBC and Jodie Whittaker was ran out as well, or like forced to regenerate, I guess, into David Tennant, I guess. That's when Disney took over. They did the 3 David Tennant specials. The first one was horrible. The second one was actually a lot of fun. And the third one was fine until the end. I think the bi-generation thing is stupid. And I hate that it undoes how powerful David Tennant's era was and how much it emotionally resonated with people. Because, like, the Doctor doesn't always win. And sometimes when he wins, he has to sacrifice a lot. That was a big defining thing with David Tennant's era. That, like, he could be, like, this charming, swarmy, like, charismatic dude, but he had a dark edge to him, too. Like, when he, watched the arachnid queen burn to death with all of her children because he just wanted to make sure she stayed dead. Uh, or his very first episode as the Doctor, when he beats the Sycorax, or I think it was they're called Sycorax, in the duel. And then he like wins and he goes to walk away and the guy like goes to rush at him again and he just throws the apple at the button to drop the platform, making him fall to his death. He's like, no second chances. That's the kind of man I am. Kusai, I watched a lot of John Pertwee up through Matt Smith, and then after like 2 episodes of Peter Capaldi, I just couldn't hang with it. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Uh, Eccleston wasn't around long, but he's one of my favorites. I hear that a lot, and that kind of surprises me. I do like a lot of the Christopher Eccleston episodes, but he has some duds in there too. Like anything involving the Slovene, was cringe as fuck. Uh, I also don't care much for his first outing. The episode Rose, I think that episode is very dated, very 2005. But the episode Dalek is great. The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances is one of the best 2-parters of the series, and I like the Bad Wolf stuff at the end with the Dalek Emperor. And I like it how they weren't afraid to like give him an arc. That was another thing with New Who is that like the Doctor progresses through like Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, and Matt Smith. He progresses as a person, as a character. He learns to like kind of like let things go. Which again, like that 14th Doctor special is so bullshit because like Matt Smith made it a big deal that his doctor was the one who let things go. There was a whole big, powerful moment in the Day of the Doctor special where the war doctor played by the great John Hurt is like the how many children died, and Matt Smith's like don't know, and David Tennant just goes off on it, and the Tenth Doctor goes off on like it was this absurd amount. How can you forget? How can you ever live with yourself forgetting? Like, it matters because that's who I am. I'm the doctor who moves on. I'm the doctor who lets go. And then this stupid bitch in the 14th hour is like, oh, the doctor just never learned to let go, and he just needs therapy. Oh, I hate it so much. And I hate again, like I hate that the 14th Doctor is still around, and that he got his like happily ever after, even though again, like it just like stakes. What are those? Nothing matters. It's just a silly time travel show for children. Uh, then they had the gall to fucking gaslight about that or lampshade about that in the series finale with Gatwa being like, I'm surprised it's not the other guy. He's always popping up places like, that's because you suck. The reason why they brought David Tennant back is because Jodie Whittaker sucked and Chris Chibnall sucked, and the reason why they let David Tennant's Doctor live is because they didn't have faith in you, Mr. Gatwa. They did not have faith that you would actually do good as the Doctor. They hired you because you're a gay black man in Britain. That is the only reason why they cast you. Gatwa brings nothing to the table except being gay and black. Just like Jodie Whittaker didn't bring anything to the table aside from being a woman. They didn't even explore like the implications of the Doctor's sexuality really. Because the Jodie Whittaker run, she's like very clearly lesbian or whatever with Yaz. Uh, but like it would be fun if like the Doctor who had been male for again another reason why the fugitive Doctor sucks. Another reason why she kills my enjoyment of the show. She's a woman, and it would be so much better and more fun, and give Jodie Whittaker more to do if she was the first female Doctor for realsies. Like, have the Doctor actually struggle with the fact that, like, I've never been a woman before. I don't know what my body is doing right now. Like, have her fall in love with a dude, and the Doctor be and have the Doctor kind of freak out about that. Like, I've been a guy my entire life. I've only ever been attracted to women. I don't understand why I'm feeling like that. It's cheap. It's silly. It's ridiculous. It's campy. It's corny, but it's fun. More fun than whatever Chris Chibnall came up with for her. Uh, Like, and they could have done that with they could have got one too. Have him be more gay, being like, oh, I guess this is the kind of person I am now. Like, this is weird and new and different for me, but they never do that. He only ever travels with women. Uh, or those are his only, like, constant companions, is Belinda and Ruby. I keep wanting to fucking say Rose. A Rose by any other name is basically her character. Uh, but they don't really, and their only like attempt at anything deep or interesting are these like very dated like communist talking points, really. And then they kind of fucked that up too. Like there's an episode in this latest season. Uh, like just how to best explain this. The main villain is a victim of genocide, and a lot of people read it as being hitting a little too close to home with the Israel Palestine situation, where like the villain, his name's Kid or whatever, and he's like very similar to how people are perceive Palestine, and the doctor tortures him, and the people who caused kid to suffer just don't get any kind of comeuppance. The doctor doesn't really mince words when it comes to people who try to take their pain out on other people. That's a very consistent thing with the doctor. He's never gone as far as torturing people. The closest he got to torturing people was the that one episode, Dalek, with Christopher Eccleston, where the Doctor was at his darkest place, and that the whole point of that episode was that the Doctor was being pushed to a breaking point because he was realizing that he sacrificed everything for nothing. Like the what allowed him to sleep at night after what he did in the Time War. The only thing that allowed him to sleep soundly at night was knowing that at least the Daleks were gone. And then they weren't. And that threw him over the edge. And it was dark and it was twisted. It was tragic. It was tragic. It hits you in the gut when that Dalek says, "You would have made a good Dalek." And the Doctor just shuts up because he knows that Dalek is right. He knows that he is just the opposite side of the coin to them. That if the shoes were on the other foot, he would be every bit as evil and tyrannical as they were. And that brings it to uh the last episode with David Tennant. Well, the last good episode with David Tennant. The End of Time special. Where the Time Lords are threatening to come back, and Wilfred is like, "But Doctor, isn't that a good thing? You're always telling me about how great your people are, and how great, things would be if they were still around, and how, all these problems that we've been facing across the universe would not be as big or as daunting of an issue if you had some help from your people." And the Doctor's like, "You don't get it. I told those stories with rose-tinted glasses. I told you of what they were. I didn't tell you what they became. I didn't tell you how they became infinitely worse than the Daleks could ever dream of being." The Doctor is angry that the Daleks keep coming back. The Doctor was terrified of the Time Lords coming back in that special. Because the Doctor can fool the Daleks. He can play them, he can con them, he can manipulate them, he can beat them. He can beat the Daleks. He can't do that to the entire army of Time Lords because he's not special by their standards. That's the whole appeal. He's a big fish in a small pond as far as they are concerned. He's a bratty teenager in their eyes. Ah, Dark Cyber asks, "I've never watched Classic Who. Is it worth watching?" It's worth checking out. Any episode you can find on online tend to be the episodes that are good. There's not a whole lot of overarching continuity, so you don't have to really worry about keeping track of who and what and where and why. They stand well on their own. I would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend John Pertwee. A couple episodes from him. Anything involving him and the Master is good. And the Three Doctors is a classic for a reason. I would also, if you're getting into Classic Who, I would also advise watching some Tom Baker stuff because that's kind of what ended up defining the Doctor. And there's a lot of Tom Baker in all of New Who. A lot of his stuff in there. He probably contributed the most to the vibe of the series. Whereas if you try to go back and watch William Hartnell or Patrick Troughton, it doesn't really feel the way that New Who does. I miss when the show was good. I wish it was still good. I wish I could care that the Kanigatwa era was cut short. They did plan a third season from him, but it's getting canceled. Disney is no longer going to support it unless they change their mind. That's possible. I doubt it. This latest season was just a ratings tank that got progressively worse and worse with each passing episode. And one last bit of absolute desperation was having him regenerate into Billy Piper. For the uninitiated among you, Billy Piper is Rose Tyler. She was the first companion of New Who. This is the first time that a major prominent supporting character in Doctor Who history became the Doctor. And it's the third time that a non-Doctor actor became the Doctor. Colin Baker was a bad guy in an episode with like Peter Davidson. Then he went on to become the Sixth Doctor. Peter Capaldi was in a single episode of the 10th Doctor's run. I think it was a season 4 episode where he played a guy in Pompeii. And then he went on to become the 12th Doctor. And now Rose Tyler, the main companion, the only companion for Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor, and one of the 3 main companions, probably the most important companion for David Tennant's 10th Doctor, is now going to be the 16th Doctor, unless they do some Bad Wolf bullshit with it, which they might. Like this is all just a big publicity stunt. None of this matters. It's just a silly space show for children. And it's fine if people in your audience think that about your story. It's fine. You're not gonna ever win everybody over. I know people who like classic Doctor Who hate everything New Who has ever done. Those people exist. You're never gonna please everyone. But you should at least be earnest and sincere about your writing. Because as campy as older Doctor Who could be, as wacky as Matt Smith could be, as silly as Colin Baker has a ridiculous fucking trench coat. Tom Baker has the 6-foot long scarf that's way too big for him. Patrick Troughton plays a recorder. John Pertwee has a different foppish outfit each episode. Sylvester McCoy has a sonic umbrella cane. As silly and as ridiculous as the Doctor has always been, and Doctor Who has always been, it was silly in a very honest and sincere way. And it shows with the way each Doctor was given their out. Like Christopher Eccleston / was like, "You're fantastic, and you know what? So was I." David Tennant's last words were, "I don't want to go." Matt Smith had a whole spiel about like, "I will not, I'm changing, and that's good. Everyone changes. We are all different people at different points in our life. What matters is that we remember the people we were and the people that made us that way. I will not forget one line of this. I will always remember when the Doctor was me." Kind of paraphrasing, I don't remember word for word everything that he says. It's great speech, by the way, though. I don't remember what Peter Capaldi's last words were, or what his regeneration was like. I remember Jodie Whittaker's, though, because she actually had a pretty good monologue, too. She's like, "Oh, man, I'm really excited to see what kind of person you are. Come out to play, Doctor." It was something like that. And then 14th didn't get any actual lines because he bio-generated. But then Nakuni Gatwa has to also actively make Jodie Whittaker worse than he already was. She's like, "Hey, you know what? Out of all the people I've been, I'm the best. I'm the best." And then Jodie Whittaker comes in like, "You're the best male, maybe." Like, ugh, cringe. Like, fuck off. Fucking RTD. Nakuni Gatwa was not a better Doctor than the 10th or the 11th. Like, the 11th Doctor spent like hundreds and hundreds of years defending the town of Trenzalore from every single invader that could possibly be imagined. David Tennant saved all of reality countless times. Like, and also those characters are popular, and people actually like, 10, 11, and 12. They don't like 13, 14, and 15. Uh, I'm just looking at the picture of all the Doctors, and it has the fugitive Doctor. It also has the War Doctor in there. From left to right, it's Sylvester McCoy, Christopher Eccleston, John Pertwee, Peter Davidson, the fugitive Doctor, William Hartnell, Steve McGann, the 14th Doctor, David Tennant, Nakuni Gatwa, Matt Smith, Jodie Whittaker, Tom Baker, Peter Capaldi, David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, uh, the War Doctor, Colin Baker, and then Patrick Troughton. And I hate that this image just acknowledges that the fugitive Doctor exists, because at least the worst plot point in any Doctor Who episode, worst plot point in Doctor Who history. And it's permanent and can't undo it, and they're too scared to even try. Because if they try to undo it, they'll just be called racist and sexist and misogynist, and the BBC doesn't have the guts to actually do anything like that. Like, Doctor Who was always liberal. There were always Marxist stuff in there, but back in the day, it wasn't any more Marxist than, like, Star Trek. It at least acknowledged that the federalism, or the communism angle stuff can only work when we get rid of scarcity. Replicators kind of change the, and this is, talking about Star Trek. The replicator to Star Trek being able to turn raw material or raw matter and molecules into anything it's programmed to. That fixes damn near every single problem that could ever pop up with communism. Like, if we were to build replicators, we wouldn't need capitalism anymore. Like, capitalism only exists because uh, goods and services have value, and they only have value because they're not uh, infinite. They're not infinitely accessible. Some things are renewable, and when they are renewable, they are basically infinite, but they're not infinite in accessibility. There can be an infinite amount of water, but if you're stranded out in the desert, 1,000 miles away from the nearest water source, then that infinite water isn't going to do you any good. Which is why Africa is such a shithole. Uh, Jesus. You worried about how they're going to continue Doctor Who? Billie Piper filmed her scene only a few weeks ago as a favor to RTD, who wanted a regeneration cliffhanger as a last-ditch attempt to convince Disney to extend their partnership. Yeah, that didn't work. I think I'm actually about done with this. So to recap, and to give kind of like the final thoughts on the autopsy of Doctor Who. The death of Doctor Who came from fan pandering, it came from member berries, it came from directionless writing. Uh, oh my god. Okay, so Coop, the fugitive Doctor. You make me relive this trauma. So during the 13th Doctor's era, there's an episode like called the I think it's actually called the Fugitive Doctor, but it ties into like the Timeless Children, where basically what happened was that a rip in time popped out a baby, and that baby kept on like changing faces and regenerating, and they extracted the original Time Lords like extracted that regeneration energy in order to create the regeneration cycle, and then that caused this timeless child to stop infinitely regenerating, and they settled on the face of a sassy black woman, uh, who then escaped from the lab and ran away, and she was called the fugitive. Well, then it's revealed during Jodie Whittaker's run that the fugitive is the Doctor. Before William Hartnell, that she had chosen the term the fugitive, and then the fugitive Doctor, and then just the Doctor, and it was all stuff that happened before William Hartnell uh, was the character. But yeah, I guess as far as like breaking the lore, the Timeless Child is a much more egregious thing than revealing that the first Doctor wasn't actually the first Doctor. Although I still find it absolutely fucking offensive that an actor, a well respected actor, William Hartnell, who is most famous for playing the first Doctor, isn't actually the first Doctor canonically. I think that is a shame. I think it is a slap in the face to him and everybody who cares about his legacy as an actor. Whereas, like, other actors, they have other roles that they can do. Like, yeah, technically the Ninth Doctor isn't the Ninth Doctor because you had the War Doctor in between there and also, like, Fugitive Doctor stuff, but, like, whatever. The War Doctor was a retcon anyway. The War Doctor was a retcon because Christopher Eccleston refused to return to the character. So they had to invent a whole new regeneration cycle that happened. He was another in the line of the Doctor, but he never called himself the Doctor because he was a soldier first and foremost. But that part was originally written for Christopher Eccleston. And then he refused to show up. So they cast John Hurt instead, which I think is an upgrade. I think John Hurt's a great actor. Was. Rest in peace. But, like, even, like, the 11th Doctor acknowledges that, like, hey, I'm not actually the 11th because, like, I'm actually the 13th because, like, as far as I remember, there's, the War Doctor. I don't call him the Doctor, but he was still part of my lifeline. And then there's also the Meta Crisis stuff in season 4 where, I just kind of regenerated to the same phase because of vanity, yada, yada, yada. It was a whole thing. And that was like, but that was Stephen Moffat explaining, like, why it had been established way back in the day. It was established, like, I think during either John Pertwee or Tom Baker's run that, like, Time Lords have 13 lives. They can regenerate through 13 phases, and then if they want to live longer than that, they have to, like, do something special or get granted extra lives by the Council of Gallifrey. And that was how Matt Smith's run it is. Like, the whole 13 thing in the Meta Crisis and War Doctor kind of helped explain away, like, why the 11th Doctor was actually the 13th and why he was actually at the end of his ropes and why he wasn't going to be able to regenerate again. And then at the end of that season, the Time Lord rift opened up and they granted him a new cycle of lives anyway, which he's used up, because Peter Capaldi would be 1, Jodie Whittaker would be 2, David Tennant would be 3, Dakota Gatwa would be 4, Billy Piper would be 5. He's already almost halfway through his new regeneration cycle. Which brings me to another interesting bit of trivia I saw. The time between Dakota Gatwa's casting announcement and his departure, the time between Dakota Gatwa's casting announcement and his first appearance as the Doctor was longer than Dakota Gatwa's appearances as the Doctor. It was like a year and a half between his casting announcement and his first appearance, and it was only like a year between his first appearance and his last. No, I think I'm about done talking about Doctor Who. But yeah, it was a lot of people knocking her. It just ran out of ideas. It really ran out of ideas around the time Peter Capaldi was the Doctor. Which is why they couldn't stop doing stunt casting. Like, oh, we gotta get a woman to play the Doctor. We got to get a black man to play the Doctor. We got to get David Tennant back because people love David Tennant. People loved his Doctor, so remember that? Remember season 4? Remember how much you liked season 4? Black Spy is 12. So I remember he was announced in 2022. I think that's crazy. Yeah, he was cast in 2022. I think he made his first appearance in late 2023, early 2024, and we're halfway through 2025 now. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, really just getting rid of what made the Doctor special for the sake of hype and aura and plot twist rather than like telling this infinitely spanning list of creative scenarios and creative stories. That's what killed Doctor Who. Uh, you think they'll bring it back in another decade or so, or is it dead for good? There's always the possibility. There's the possibility that it gets renewed and that we see another season in 2 to 3 years. It will be at least over a year. Because even if it gets announced literally today, they won't be able to start filming for another couple months and then post production and stuff. So we will not see another Doctor Who episode come out for at least another year. Like even if it gets announced tomorrow. Uh, but there's always the possibility. No, Big Mouth lasted 8 seasons, and that show was never good. Doctor Who was at least good for a solid 6.5 seasons. So anything can happen, man. Anything can happen. But I hope it stays gone and that when it does come back, it is a long time from now and it's with a completely new creative direction. New production company, new, it'll still have to be the BBC, but new writer, new director, new Doctor, just basically do New Who again. Burn it all down. Retcon what you have to in order to fix what was broken. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. Shorter live show. But I think this is actually going to be more the standard of what the live show is. Next week, I will definitely talk about how anime was always popular, and I will also have a big spiel about Zom 100. Because that's the show I really wanted to talk about this week. But Doctor Who is more important. I really needed to get these thoughts out there and really just hash out why I think the show failed and why I think it's getting canceled. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for commenting. Let me know who your favorite Doctors are if you haven't already. If you're watching this in the future. Yeah, or what are your favorite episodes? That's a question nobody's asked me. I'm a normie, so my favorite episode is Blink. Uh, either Blink or oh man, I do always go back to Dalek with Christopher Eccleston, and it's hard to pick a Matt Smith episode because all of his stuff is so good because it all like leads into the next. But the Impossible Astronaut and what's that other? Hold on, I need to remember what this was. It was Day of the Moon, The Impossible Astronaut, and Day of the Moon. That's my favorite two-parter. It's the season 6 premiere. It introduces the silence for real. And I love the idea of like the Doctor kicking them all to the curb using their own bullshit. I love that. But yeah, thank you all for joining me again, and you all have a good